Hello and welcome to the Series 12 panel discussion, and today I'm forced to talk about the Timeless Children, and I really don't want to. And today I have dragged along with me Connor.
Yes, hello.
Jacob.
Yeah, hi.
And Joey.
Hello.
Yeah, so how are we going to do the categories then? I suppose we may as well start off with the Doctor, but in that include the whole Timeless Child arc resolution thing is what her character does in this episode, and that is pretty intertwined.
I'm sorry, the Doctor does fuck all in this.
Oh, you can start then, Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
You seem like you have something to say.
Oh, actually, wait. Can I open with one thing quick? I have to commend Jodie Whittaker as an actress for giving such an amazing performance with such an awful script.
Oh yeah, no, she's trying her best, but she doesn't do anything. She like, there's just okay. I've liked Whittaker for like all of Series 12. She's been great, and Series 12 has been great. Like, this is the first episode that I think might genuinely be just bad, like genuine bad.
I mean, to be fair, even though I haven't been a fan of Series 12, there hasn't been many episodes I thought were really bad. There's just a lot of episodes I thought were boring. Whereas I do think this definitely crosses the threshold into bad.
Yeah, well, like, definitely. Okay, I like the idea of the Timeless Child being some this Time Lord secret of that's where they got the regeneration from a completely different species, because
I agree. I mean
that
like,
is a decent twist. That is a
like, I don't mind
twist.
the backstory. I don't mind the backstory. I really don't. But why does it have to be the Doctor?
Yeah, that's the problem I have.
That's where it falls apart.
Yeah, no. That may I continue?
Yeah,
it's because it's making the Doctor. Like, the only way you can make the Doctor some amazing figure is if you do an other type situation, which I think is what Chibnall was trying to do, but he clearly doesn't understand what made the other work, and that the other wasn't really the Doctor, just a precursor to the Doctor, whereas the twist here is that all these other incarnations of the Doctor are the Doctor calling themselves the Doctor, even though, like, that makes no sense. I'm not going to go. This doesn't ruin William Hartnell's legacy, but it definitely meddles. Like,
because the Doctor doesn't become the Doctor we know until William Hartnell goes through his journey as the
that's
Doctor.
Kind of the point. That's something that Big Finish have done in all the companion chronicles that are set pre-Unearthly Child. Is that usually they focus solely on Susan, and the Doctor only helps out because it's in his best interest.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, also, since you brought up the other, Jacob, I do want to like specify something that, like, because I know I'm sure a lot of people listening, or at least Dylan and Connor here, are going to be wondering like why we as fans of the idea of the other are not okay with this, because the other, for those that aren't aware, is a, sort of like this mysterious figure from Gallifrey's past and sort of helped.
Also, the other is never
Gallifrey's
fully
society.
explained. The other is never fully explained.
But then the idea being that the other's influence was given to the Doctor when he was loomed. Basically, the Time Lords wanted the Doctor to be destined for greatness, and what works about it then is that the Doctor says no, fuck you, and he runs away from Gallifrey. That's what worked about it. You could still make the Doctor an important figure while still having him be just this traveler, just this person that happens to get into these situations.
There's a difference between being an important figure and being a literal messiah, and it's something that New Who has done and continues to do, and I hate it. Is to make the
hero
Doctor
worship
a
is
literal
horrible.
messiah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is nothing against Jodie Whittaker. She's been great as the Doctor this season. She's doing her best. She is trying. Her scenes with the Master early on in the episode are great. I love them. And her scenes and the way she kind of resolves the plot, I think, is really good acting.
It was not good writing, though.
She's trying.
I wasn't as overhyped about her performance as you were. I mean, she's always putting in the effort, but
I'm just trying to get across that I don't hate Whittaker because that's what the usual.
Oh well, I mean, I don't hate Whittaker either.
Yeah.
Although I've only really liked her in about 2 episodes, but I haven't really hated her either.
Mm-hmm. And as far as her performance goes, I mean, like, moments that should land kind of don't, because they're fucking ridiculous. I'm thinking
also,
specifically here
of when
the Doctor like when the theme tune literally plays over the Doctor escaping.
Oh, that
from the
was such
Matrix.
a shit moment. People are saying that's such a good moment, but it wasn't. It was proper fan wanky.
I started laughing my ass off because of that, but also because the people I was watching it we were joking about before we watched the episode. It was just like, what if Chibnall just wrote the entirety of Series 12 because he got pissed off with the brain of Morbius as a kid, and then the Morbius Doctor showed up, and we were just fucking dying in our seats. It's so fucking stupid.
The Morbius Doctors are Morbius's incarnations, not the Doctor. Just saying.
No, they're the other incarnations. They're the others.
Well,
I mean, there are plenty of ways to explain it away. You didn't need this at all.
Yeah, but I suppose we're talking about that now, so we may as well get on to it. Like, you know, the whole timeless child thing. What the fuck was the point? So they do this, you know, massive change to how he perceived the Doctor, and you know what the Doctor's past is, and what the Doctor means to Gallifrey. All of that with huge changes, and they do nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. Literally, the script. The script says in itself, like Jodie says, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter because I'm still me." So it's like, well, if it doesn't matter, then what was the point of doing it? If you're going to do nothing about it, if this is the whole crux of the series that was leading up to this, and you've been advertising that this is the thing we need to watch, this is everything's leading up to, and they've done nothing with it, it's bullshit.
The anthropomorphic personification of the concept of the Doctor. And that's why this episode is good.
It's just like they spend all this whole series building up this thing and do nothing with it. What was the point? Yeah. I feel like they've just wasted my time. I don't see how people say, "Oh yeah, the timeless child twist was great." It was like, no, it was a generic twist. How many times do we have a twist in films or TV shows where a character turns out to have some special backstory which makes them more important? All the time. It's not that exciting a twist. And then to just confound that, nothing is done with it. It's completely skipped over. Yeah. We don't even get to see more of Joe Martin, which is one thing that I actually would have been excited to see.
But even then, even when we saw Joe Martin, it was still like, it was the Doctor's like perception of Joe Martin, and so like she doesn't actually act like the Doctor that we saw in Fugitive of the
How much of this is it's weird. It doesn't make any sense.
And like the Doctor doesn't actually have a plot. Like there's no reason. Like the Doctor actually accomplishes nothing, even to the point where she doesn't actually resolve the plot herself. This is probably the worst moment of the episode for me, as far as like the Doctor's characterization, is the moment at the end where she has to stop the Cybermen and the Master once and for all, and random guy that we literally just met last episode walks in, fucking presses the button for her. The Doctor just fucking runs off. What was that about?
Well, let's just talk about the plot contrivances, shall we? Like how Jodie's just magically able to break out of the Matrix, which was basically just the exposition VR simulator, just so easily. And then they infiltrate the cyber ship. Like, we never get to see how they do it. It's like the size of a city, and they're placing bombs all over it while there's an army of Cybermen on it. How do they do that? Why do we get to see none of that? Why are the Cybermen just defeated so easily? And also you've got the Deus Ex particle, as my friend called it, where, like, just, oh yeah, I happen to come up with the particle that will wipe out all life, you know, just saying. Didn't mention that earlier because, you know, just didn't want to dampen the mood. And then that's, you know, all of a sudden, like, a big plot. But this is really contrived. And then it just ends too easily. Everything felt far too easy. It was just exposition roller coaster.
You want to know what this feels like? This feels like Chibnall had a completely different finale in mind, but was then told, fuck it, you need, like, because Ascension of the Cybermen doesn't match up to this episode. It really doesn't. Like...
See, no, but you could tell this is totally Chibnall's idea. He just merged these two plots that should have nothing to do with each other. The two plots don't work well together. What is the point of tying in the Lone Cyberman and the resurrection of the cyber race into this whole Master telling the Doctor all about her secret past stuff? Like, the Master telling the Doctor all about the secret past is its own little side plot in and of itself.
That could be its own story.
Episode. Exactly. Like, why are these two plots together? There's so much going on, yet at the same time, nothing is accomplished.
Nothing happens. It's all just exposition and contrivances to end that section of exposition. Like, the plot doesn't flow properly. There's too much going on at once. It's all contrived. It's all exposition. It's all done crap.
This seems to be a problem Chibnall has with writing finales, because it happened last year with Resolution. By Resolution, you have a great Dalek story and a great idea of emotionally overcoming a missing parent, and with Ryan and
Chibnall
Dad,
just smashes them together and they don't mesh well together. Yeah, it doesn't work.
But
Also,
it's much
we
worse
talk
in
about
this case.
how and then like the lone Cyberman is killed off just because.
It's like the Lone Cyberman was such a great idea. It was a really different take of the Cybermen. But the moment Haunting of Villa Diodati ended, nothing happens to him. He goes through no further development. The idea is explored
even then,
no further.
Even then,
I couldn't have been
even
the
then,
only
like
one
he
who
was
thought
still
the
the
thing was going to be a Cyberman thing, like.
Well, even then, like
plot.
Ascension of the Cyberman was still good in Ascension of the Cyberman. I still really enjoyed his character. He was the best part about that episode. And then he's brought back here, and he accomplishes absolutely nothing before he's killed off by the Master.
Very unceremoniously, and I don't feel like the plot they brought up with him, the ideas brought with him, have been resolved at all. Nothing's been explored. The Cybermen have been treated like Daleks in the way that, they're just here to kill everybody, but that's not what the Cybermen are about. The whole point is that they want to convert people. I thought that was the point of the Lone Cyberman, showing that desperation, how people will willingly do it and want to do it to others, but instead they're just treated like the Daleks. They're just treated really generically, and they're completely wasted and crammed in an episode which is already filled with stuff that don't have enough time to properly flow, and it's just a mess.
But that... Oh, God. It's just... I don't... Instead of like... this is hard to talk about.
I feel drained already.
Yeah.
You spent 15 minutes blowing off all your steam.
Fuck.
I just have the feeling that we're not done with this. I also feel like the story isn't over because...
See, but also Chibnall wrote it in a way that he doesn't actually have to bring this up again. Apparently for the Doctor, everything's solved. The Doctor says, "Oh no, it doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter how many of us there are." It's like, wait, what? No. The Doctor literally says, like, "Oh, none of this matters. I am who I am. This affects me in no way whatsoever." Like, we're gonna get no answers. Chibnall doesn't have to bring this up ever again, and it still makes absolutely no sense.
The Master says at the beginning of the episode, "This will change everything forever," and Jodie Whittaker's Doctor gets over it in 5 minutes.
Actually, one positive.
It's like that comment on my video ends with literally nothing changed, but the show will never be the same, which makes no sense because the show shouldn't be the same after this. We should be exploring what does this mean? How does this actually affect the character?
But the script itself is literally saying that it doesn't change anything. I'll tell you another problem I have, which I haven't seen anybody talk about, is the fact that the Master's still destroyed all the Time Lords. I don't believe he could do it. I don't believe that he has the ability, just like that, to destroy Gallifrey. I would want to see that. Show, don't tell.
I always kind of took it as like the Master took the moment that the Doctor was going to use in Day of the Doctor, and he did it with that. But then also that doesn't explain, like, I guess it does kind of explain.
Well, why doesn't he? Why don't we get to see what he does? Show, don't tell. I mean.
I get that.
He was so mad because he found out a bit of the Doctor was in him. He killed an entire race of highly advanced people.
Not even a race, 2 races. Because you have remember, there are Gallifreyans on Gallifrey who aren't Time Lords.
Yeah.
Apparently, like, the entire planet is decimated.
Yeah.
It's just like, are we not going to get any explanation for this? Are we not going to learn anything about this? Are you just going to have like this one cheap twist that's really generic, and then just say it doesn't matter, and then explore absolutely none of the stuff, all of the stuff you brought up? Is that it?
I guess we have to wait and find out if he addresses any of this again later on.
Oh no! Fuck that! Everybody said that after every Moffat finale, and it didn't happen.
And if he does ever address it, which I don't fully believe that he will, if he does ever fully address it, then we'll have all the people saying, like, "Oh yeah, see, I told you he was going to do something with it eventually." No. Like, this is supposedly, like, the climax. This was totally built up as, this is what all this is coming towards. We're going to get all of our answers, or not specifically all of our answers, but we're going to get most of our answers. We're going to understand at least what's going on with the Doctor and her past. And it's not properly explained. So if Chibnall does ever tackle it in the future, it's all going to be retroactive. It's going to be done in retrospect. There won't actually be a narrative reason for it. It'll be because people complained.
Yeah, if you bring up an idea, why don't you actually explore that and what that means? Because this did nothing. Yeah. This episode literally did nothing. and just dismissed its allegedly game-changing reveal. I just don't see how people think that this is any good.
The game-changing reveal should have been game-changing, but they're not treating it like it's game-changing, which is...
It's interesting because I feel like...
I would have more respect for Chibnall if we were ending on actually saying, yes, we are following up with this. But as it stands now, there's no need.
There's this kind of weird middle ground he's trying to straddle where he's trying to change it but not, like, completely... Because, obviously I think Chibnall will be aware of, people's concerns about how this is going to change the law, and it's almost like he's trying to change it but not change it in a way that's going to, like, damage parts, and it's really odd, like, how he
we could
is going about it.
Talking about it now, we could tell the reason Chibnall wrote the line, "No, this changes nothing. I'm still who I am," and it's to appease the people who are going to be like, "Oh yeah, well."
But it just renders the whole thing pointless, though. So
yeah, exactly.
Horrendous writing, really, absolutely horrendous.
But also, since we brought up William Hartnell, come on, just because he thinks he's the first Doctor, that still doesn't tarnish his legacy whatsoever.
What it does is it changes. Well, this completely changes the motivation of the character once again, because you remember he ran away from Gallifrey because he was scared of the hybrid. Wait, no, he ran away from Gallifrey
because he was scared of the division now. Which I think the division is kind of a cool idea, but they don't explore it. They don't do anything.
Why do I feel like something got lost in the cutting room floor and it was supposed to be made more clear that was like a precursor to the CIA? Like,
possibly.
I don't. I get one. I get wanting to leave questions open ended and wanting to come back to them later. Chibnall's leaves the wrong questions open ended.
Yeah.
If he was making it clear that the next series was about exploring all of these ideas he brought up, I could sort of understand it. It still wouldn't be great, but at least then I wouldn't just feel like I'd had my whole time wasted. But the way he set this up is it doesn't even seem like he's going to come back to it, or if he does, it's only going to be for maybe an episode.
Also, people are remembering. People are saying in the montage, why they show a clip of Captain Jack from Fugitive of the Jejune. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, the Doctor never met Jack there.
And it was Jack, I was right, Jack was there just for fan wank. There was no need for him to be there.
He's back in the special, but...
It was still very fan wanky. He was not involved in these events.
Since we brought up, there's no, sign that we're actually going to continue this arc, why couldn't they have ended the episode with the Doctor saying, oh yeah, there's still so much unanswered, and then the Doctor, leaves in the TARDIS with purpose or whatever, and then she's caught by the Jadoon. No, there's no sign of it. The doctor monologuing in the TARDIS oh yeah, I'll just go back for the companions now. It won't make a difference. I'm still me. It doesn't fucking matter. And then the Jadoon come in and trap her on, I don't know, fucking Shada or something. Who gives a shit?
or at least hint that maybe it's bugging the Doctor a little bit. If that's what you're gonna do with it.
She was sort of contemplating a little bit, but it obviously wasn't enough.
Considering the Master said at the beginning of the episode, everything will change, nothing will be the same. Being a little bit, I'll just have a little think about it. It's not even anywhere near living up to the billing it got at the beginning. It achieved nothing, it resolved nothing, it brought nothing to the table, really, because it did nothing with any of its ideas.
I feel like the reaction the Doctor had at the end of Spyfall Part 2 probably would have been a more appropriate way to go about it, if you know what I mean. That kind of dramatic reaction to it would have made more sense.
Even that would have been underwhelming.
Oh, also, since we're talking about ideas that they do nothing with, one idea I do really like is taking Time Lord bodies and turning them into Cybermen.
No, we're
but then
they
do
nothing
nothing
with
that.
We'll
and the designs are stupid.
So we got anything else more to say on the Doctor and the Timeless Child?
It has so much potential that it's wasted.
Wait, were we still doing categories?
We're just going over a very general big one here about the Doctor and the Timeless Child. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest category. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't really said that much yet. So there are problems with the actual plot itself, but in regards to just the character and the actress, I really liked the Doctor in this episode. Even though she didn't really get that much to do in the first 2/3, I liked for example, the scene where she pushes the master down, the scene where she's, basically willing to sacrifice herself. I mean, obviously within the plot, there's a lot of issues with it, but I quite liked the portrayal and the performance. Though, having said that, the very end when Koshamas comes in and says, "No, I'll do it," and then it just sort of undercuts it a little bit. I was a bit like, "Oh, I don't know about that." It was a bit disappointing, but just like forgetting about all the issues, just sort of looking at Jodie in like an isolation. I quite like doing this, so I suppose that's a positive.
I mean, I'll give the performance that, but I mean that's the only thing holding it up. That and also like her and Sacha Dhawan still work well together, but again that's the only thing holding that up because the script is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's worse than nothing. It's like it's wasted our time by building up this thing that's meant to be a game changer for the whole series. Just reveals it through entirely exposition, then just says it's irrelevant 5 minutes later and moves on to the next thing. It's crap. It really is awful.
I quite liked how the Brendan scenes from Ascension of the Cybermen were like a master version of the actual truth. I quite liked that. I liked that. It was quite creative.
See, that's...
If you know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah. But then there's also more of a positive for Ascension of the Cybermen than it is for this episode. Holy shit.
I don't know. The twist it happens in this one. I'm not 100% sure if it's all on Ascension of the Cybermen. And I have to say, even though like it didn't really.
Wait, can I just say, can we really call this a twist? Considering there was absolutely no foreshadowing to this whatsoever outside of this series.
Okay. Because when I viewed this episode, it wasn't really a twist to me because I sort of saw it coming. I mean, part of the reason is that leaks were all over Twitter, so I sort of knew.
I managed to miss the leaks.
I saw this leak like really early on, sadly. But it wasn't so much.
Sorry, I walked away for a second. Which one was this?
Oh, we're talking about the reveal. I didn't. It wasn't a twist to me because I knew about it, like because someone leaked information to me.
But guys, apparently, because we're being outraged on behalf of the Harleys, we're trying to argue from a position of perceived authority.
What?
I don't have any authority. This is just my shit opinion on a channel full of shit opinions.
But what I can say is that like, I don't know, it is odd, but I was really interested. I know some of you found it quite boring, but it's very strange because I've been very critical of Chris Chibnall's exposition before, but the difference between his exposition in other episodes and this one is I was actually quite interested in the actual subject matter. And
you're not wrong.
The subject matter was crap though because nothing was explored. It was completely surface level, just crap. Like it did nothing with it. I don't see how this could be interesting.
I haven't actually like read that many books or like experienced that much expanded media. So this kind of stuff is quite new to me. This Gallifreyan lore.
Well, it's new to me as well. I don't really read the books that much.
Well, I mean, it's a totally new take on it.
I just thought it was
it's
interesting.
New to everyone.
Like I just thought that whole story with what's her face, the woman who was the
not
one that was experimenting.
Not Rassilon, who's apparently supposed to be. Apparently, I'm too dumb not thinking that it is Rassilon. Thinking that it isn't Rassilon.
But it's not.
Yeah,
it's not Rassilon.
I mean, that's epic. I mean, I remember when I watched it. I remember when they were revealing about all these weird things we've never heard about before. I'm like, where does Rassilon and Omega fit in this? I'm not 100% sure if this is all right.
Putting on my tinfoil hat. Putting on my tinfoil hat, the way this happens, at least, is that like Omega and Rassilon are experimenting with time travel while all this regeneration experimenting is happening off to the side. If that makes any sense. So
yeah,
I mean that's
and also
possible,
I think
but also, I just don't think we have the answers.
But
so there's a few things I got to say.
Yeah.
There's a few things I got to say. Firstly, is that part of the reason why I think I'm left a little bit like not quite disappointed, but just a bit more like I wanted more because there was interest. I had a lot of interest in what was being told to me, and I want to like find out more. And I'm hoping that sometime down the road there is more to this because I am interested in some of the lore and the mysteries and whatnot. But I I don't know. I just found it really captivating to watch, even though it was very much like a VR show of exposition of like lore. I just found it quite interesting to watch, even if it's full of plot holes and issues.
It wasn't even half baked. It was worse than half baked. It barely had any thought put into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It just interested me.
Also, since the last panel discussion I was on was Fugitive of the Judean, like, I think I remember, like I said, like I couldn't form like a proper opinion on this because I didn't know where it was going to go. Yeah. Now that I know it goes nowhere, I can officially say I don't like Fugitive of the Judean.
And I was absolutely right on that panel discussion with everything I said.
I mean, it's still an intriguing episode. It still kind of grabs my attention, but it's not very good. And now that I know there's no proper payoff for it, it's
Anyway,
there was also one other. Oh, sorry, you finish.
No, it's right. You can have a last word on this topic if you want.
Yeah, okay. So there's another factor to this as well, and I think this is probably where I present a little bit of a different view on the Doctor to you three, because I've never actually had a problem with the idea of the Doctor being like a sort of like a kind of important person, if you will. Well, yeah, I mean that's a bit like. I know what you mean by that.
Well, in the end of Series 3, they literally pray to David Tennant, and he has magical god powers.
I was thinking about this too, like, this makes Last of the Time Lords look like fucking nothing.
Can't the Doctor just be a traveller? Why does they have to be the most important person ever?
What I was going to say was I never had a problem with that in Last of the Time Lords. So I do think there is a bit of a difference with that, and that I don't really mind them presenting the Doctor's past in this way. Like, obviously, because, between the Timeless Child and the William Hartnell's Doctor, like, I think they specified that there was a memory wipe, correct? Like, they sort of started the person from scratch. And I don't really mind the idea of the Doctor being special. Like, I can see why you don't like it. I think that's very fair. But I've never had a problem with it, and I find the entire backstory quite interesting, even if it doesn't quite lead to the full potential it has.
Well, just for
I think the Doctor can be an important figure. Just the Doctor should always reject their legacy. I don't think the Doctor should ever feel important in their actions.
When you think about it, time was advanced. Why can't they just clone the regenerative gene? Like, why do they need the Doctor kept alive then? Like what?
Again, so what doesn't make sense.
I mean, these are good questions. These are good questions, and I'm interested to find out if there is anything to it.
Answer.
Well, you don't know that.
We don't know that.
No, we don't know that.
But odds are, if there is going to be an answer, it won't be planned. It'll just be something.
The way the episode set it up is that there isn't going to be an answer because the Doctor doesn't care. So
to be completely fair, Joey, there's quite a lot of stuff in this show that's not planned, even from the classic series. You have to admit.
Well, I understand that, but it's also a big reason I don't like the Moffat era because he just made it up as he fucking went along.
The big problem,
just like Chibnall.
The big problem here is that the idea that there is that Chibnall makes the mistake of making the main character not interested in the plot at the end. Let's see where the plot's going.
Like Connor, like in the classic series, when stuff is retroactively added, it's not. It's just done. Like the showrunner or writers don't treat it like there's some like big grand arc planned ahead. Like they have all the answers. It was just like, oh, what if it was cool? Like we added this.
Let's tell a more interesting story by doing this.
Have it make more sense. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Whereas with Chibnall, it was actually the reason for this change, in my opinion, was simply for views because. Clearly, he didn't have any idea what to do with it or any creative thing he could do with it because nothing was done with it. So, in my opinion, it was simply done for the sake of getting viewers to watch by having it. Ooh, look forward to the big twist at the end. Ooh, here's the big twist. Bye.
And even then, it didn't do that well in ratings.
Well, it was certainly a very pleasurable cock tease. I can say that.
I got no pleasure out of it whatsoever. It was more like getting my cock ripped off, if I'm perfectly honest. Anyway, we're going to move on to some smaller categories now, so the companions. And I have to say, before I let somebody go, that scene where Graham started talking about how great Yaz was, I laughed for a solid 2 minutes. Like, not exaggerating the amount of time. 2 minutes of laughing. It's like, Jesus Christ, Chibnall, you give a character no character for 2 years. Tell us how great she is in this big climactic finale for like in a minute-long speech. It's just... Are you insane? Anyway, yeah, go on, Colin.
And now supposedly Yaz is going to be the only one left after the special. Supposedly, that's what I saw. I mean, it's the mirrors, so I mean, who knows?
We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about that yet. That's completely irrelevant, Joey.
Go on, Colin.
My point there is Yaz has no character development. That's my point.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say she has none, but she doesn't have enough yet.
She doesn't have a character.
Like maybe 2 episodes.
Tell me a defining trait of Yaz's character.
Yeah. Now I do have a different view on that scene, Dylan. I actually quite liked it, and the reason why is because I really liked the end of Can You Hear Me, and I feel like that scene with Graham and Yaz has a strong connection to that one. It was.
Well, I really like Can You Hear Me as well, but I mean that's literally just Graham spewing what he thinks about Yaz, and Graham and Yaz haven't had a proper connection up to this point. It's just
they really
a person
have.
Yaz hasn't had anything to justify this level of praise. She hasn't done anything.
If Graham made that speech about Ryan, I could understand that. That'd be totally reasonable. But Yasmin Khan, fucking seriously?
She had the beginnings of a character arc in Can You Hear Me?
Yeah.
Can You Hear Me should have been, honestly, I don't know if this is correct or not, but I feel like Can You Hear Me should have been in series 11, not 12. It just would have been better to.
I mean, on the grounds of character development, yeah, but I mean, it could go in either series, really.
Well, I mean, the problem with Can You Hear Me is that it brings up all of these issues that allegedly all of the main cast have, yet none of it came up before other than Graham. So with Graham it was fine, but with the others it just felt completely unearned and unforeshadowed.
That's the thing about.
I mean, at least with Ryan, it was with his friend. So
Ryan's was his friend, so Ryan's I can understand as well. But also, Yaz, I mean, Yaz we know nothing about, so throwing that into her, I mean, that actually giving us like something about her past was nice. So I don't know, I really like Can You Hear Me personally.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Chibnall's era that there's like all these nice little bits and pieces all splattered around, but they don't really connect, and that's a problem that I have with the way Chibnall writes his series. It just doesn't quite.
It feels like Chibnall wants to do something like Classic Who, where you wouldn't have like big overarching story arcs, but it's forced to do big overarching story arcs because that's what Doctor Who does now, because that's what TV does now.
Well, and also, I think it's the fact that he seems incapable of writing an interesting, self-contained story that doesn't rely on exposition, you know?
Well, I don't know. Spyfall I thought was pretty self-contained.
It was other than what it was it barely resolved most of its plot points.
It worked well, like on its own. I really like Spyfall as well, so I don't know. I think we differ on that one.
I felt like, again, it was far too many ideas crammed into one. And not
maybe Chibnall should go back into the old Classic Who producer role, who doesn't write actual stories and has writers do that.
Well, I've heard that Maxine
kind of plans out these broad strokes for the story.
I've heard that Maxine Alderton's going to have a bigger role next time.
I mean, she wrote the only episode I liked in Series 12. So. Go on, do you not even like the one episode I really enjoyed in this series, Joey?
No, I like Haunting of Villa Diodati, but like, come on, the only really strong thing in it was the Lone Cyberman.
I don't know, I quite liked the historical setting and all of the characters. It was the first time in a long time that characters were actually done well and interesting.
The first half was like if Castrovalva was good, and it had a gothic horror, and it had and it was historical, and then.
The characters were terribly underdeveloped. I didn't feel connection to any of those characters.
The big problem with
much better developed than most Chibnall characters.
Anyway, we're talking about the wrong episode.
Yeah. Well, because there isn't much to talk about with this. This is literally just the twist.
It's vapid bullshit.
Yeah, that's all
nothing
the
happens.
Is.
All right,
just the
I've got something else to say.
And even then, that accomplishes nothing.
I got something else to say that we haven't talked about yet. If you want, Dylan.
We're going to move on to the Cyberman next. Is that what you're going to talk about?
Oh, okay, sure. We'll do that first then.
All right.
Okay, so... This is frustrating because I really, really like the concept and the idea behind it, but the execution is...
It's a good concept.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to quote...
how fucked up is it, too? Like, it's so fucked up because the Master is taking dead Time Lord bodies, putting them in the Cybermen. I love that idea.
This is something that the Master definitely would do as well. It's really... I found it really convincing. The problem is that firstly, like... I wish. Actually, no. You know what? I fucking wish the Cybermen Time Lords thing was like built up in part 1, and then we got it in part 2.
You want to know basically what the Cybermen are in this episode? They're basically the Sibs from the Leakley Bible.
I think I saw you talking about that on Twitter, Joe. I totally get that.
It's
yeah. But also like okay, so like after it's introduced, like I really liked when the Master was talking
they were going to do a story
about like what he
which
did.
would be about the Cybermen invading Gallifrey and basically doing this plot.
So the Master's talking about it. He's saying like he's like I kept the bodies like just cold enough or whatever, and then like and it's a really cool like build up to it. I was like, oh, I was getting really excited. And then they show the Cybermen. First off, the designs are fucking awful. they look... They're some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in Doctor Who. And I watch Doctor Who.
Why do they have the collars?
To replace their handlebars, no less, they've got the collars.
They kind of look like peacocks, don't they? They kind of look like peacocks, eh?
They fucking do. So then beyond that, second, also Cybermen wearing robes. Fucking robes.
Why?
So then they surround the Master, and they're like his army. They do the Dark Water, Death in Heaven thing again. And then, like, they're built up as this really strong threat, and I really believe the threat there. Like, the script, like, building them up.
Yeah, they said, these are the most invincible army.
Well, like, the idea that Cybermen can't die.
Much like the rest of this episode, then the Cybermen do nothing.
And they're killed, so they're built up as this unstoppable threat, and then they're killed in, like, a few seconds. Like, they're introduced... 2 minutes later, they're all gone. And another just complete waste of a plot point. I even disagree with you lot. I thought the idea was a bit fan-wanky and a bit silly. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it.
It's a silly idea.
I think but I like the demonstration the Master did of the Cybermen regenerating. The only problem is like, how is it regenerating if they're dead?
Yeah, that's another thing. They seem to have raised so many questions about regeneration and has absolutely no interest in answering any of them. It's just here's exciting fan-wanky plot twists.
Much like a lot of the Chibnall era, the moment is cool. Like when he tells the Cybermen to kill the other Cybermen, the moment is there. You just can't put more than 5 seconds of thought into it.
Yeah, I just like I said before, I feel like the Cyber Time Lord reveal should have been the end of part 1, and then we should have gotten more of them in part 2.
Oh yeah, actually see them do something beyond just a demonstration of what they're capable of.
Instead, we've had 2 episodes of literally nothing. Like, in a sense, my ascension to the Cyber panel discussion, I said if Jodie just turned up on the beach at the beginning of that episode, what would have changed? Nothing. In this episode, we go on one little exposition walk tour, and these new Cybermen are destroyed just as quickly as they're introduced. Nothing happens. Two-part finale where nothing happens. And it's all irrelevant. And literally the script itself admits, it doesn't matter. So it's like, what was the point in watching?
Also, what did Kosh Sharma's do to earn sacrificing himself to kill the Cybermen and the Master? Especially, like, to sacrifice himself for the Doctor. Like, they were building him as some kind of important character, but then, again, much like the rest of the episode, did nothing with him. I don't get that at all.
If he had been, like, an actual, like, pre-existing Time Lord we knew, we might actually care about him, you know? I don't know.
He wasn't a Time Lord.
I remember seeing someone saying on Twitter after Ascension. Yeah, I remember seeing someone on Twitter after Ascension saying, like, oh yeah, well, Kosh Sharma could be Brendan, you know, like, later on, like, he's a Time Lord. That wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, hell, even if you made Kosh Sharma another, like, timeless child Doctor, I mean, it'd be annoying and fan-wanky.
Or if he was the timeless child, that would make a bit of sense. Kind of.
Or, here's a novel idea, just don't have every important figure in history ever be the Doctor.
Yeah,
so the Timeless Child
nice.
could be Kosh Sharma and Brendan. The Timeless Child could be good as this lie that Gallifreyan society is built upon, that they get their regenerative ability from another race. That's a cool idea, but why does it need to be the Doctor?
That's why this is kind of a frustrating episode, because I feel like it could have been, like, really good if they'd just changed a few things.
Yeah. If they'd actually done something with any of the ideas they'd had, which they don't at all, not even close.
For me, the most disappointing part of this episode, though, is the fact that the lone Cybermen kind of just got like cut out of the story.
I already accepted that last episode because they did nothing with him last episode either after such a good introduction, and I was just like, well, next episode is just going to be about the lore, and he's just going to be swept to the side, and I was absolutely right.
I don't know. I did really like the scene in Ascension when he's talking to the one kid before he lets him go, like about like him saying like, oh, you're the last survivor here or whatever. Go tell them all how the Cybermen race will survive and will kill you all. Like I did really like that scene last episode.
Yeah, but I don't feel it really built on anything. I felt there was a lot of mileage you could have done. There was a lot of mileage you could have done with that character, and they did none.
Yeah, it's. Also, the companions do absolutely nothing.
I tell you what, though, there is one scene I really like, just mainly for the direction, and that's when they're hiding inside the Cybermen suits. I really like the way it was shot.
I forgot about that. That was stupid. I mean, for me, the Cybermen, when you're in the suit, it's not just like you're a body in the suit. It's like bits of your organs are plugged into cybernetic bits and bobs and organs and stuff like that. You know, it's not just you're a body in a suit. It's like you're a body meshed to a suit.
The idea of them hollowing out the suit is gruesome, and I love it.
But also a proper missed opportunity there. If you're gonna try to do companion exits, or if you're planning the exit of companions, I saw this one idea on Twitter that was the cyber suits like start converting them, and they don't realize that it's too late. I really like that idea. Missed opportunities here. I would have loved that. That would have been so good. But again, just they do nothing with it. There's here's a fun gag inside cyber suits, and then it's over.
What? I just had a thought. I just had a thought. Like this I don't know if this is like necessarily fix all the problems, but like imagine if in that scene when they were hiding, all three of them got converted, and then at the end of the episode, when, for example, you know how at the climax it was like the Doctor was going to press the button and wipe out all the organic life. What if like three of the Cybermen were the companions? And like she had that running through her head as well. Like that could have been quite a tense moment.
Yeah. It's, like seriously, like even the build up, like after all the shitness leading up to this moment of the Doctor about to press this button, it was still a good moment. It could be a very good like Doctor defining moment. Jodie was on fire there, and then the payoff was shit. They do nothing with it, like this entire episode.
Anyway, we're going to move on to final thoughts now, as this has gone on for quite a while.
Wait, we didn't talk about the Master
at all. We haven't talked about the Master.
Oh, I mean, we've briefly covered it. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think there's much to say, but you can go on.
I mean,
I have things to say.
He's a good performance.
I still love Sacha Dhawan.
I
really liked him.
I really
he's obviously going to come back at some point.
I mean, he's honestly the star of this episode. He's the only thing I can consistently enjoy.
He was my favorite thing about it. It was my favourite thing about it. I really liked him a lot.
I felt to me he's just going a bit too over the top. I can't take him seriously.
Oh yeah, maybe a bit over the top.
No more over the top than like Alex McQueen. Come on.
Yeah.
Nah, Alex McQueen still keeps it fairly real. He doesn't go like.
And so does Sacha Dhawan. I think they're about on the
same
same
level. No, he doesn't. He's like a child with too much sugar.
Actually, the one scene that I did laugh at though was when he took into Siberium. And like the way like Sacha started moving his body then as he was screaming, and he like started laughing with it. It was just I started laughing at that scene. I thought it was a bit silly, but beyond that, I thought but beyond that, I really liked Sacha.
Put in perspective one thing though, I will say, like going back again to like me being a bit more of a New Who fan, is that I really like the classic Masters and I like the New Who Masters as well. So the fact that he's kind of a combination of both is I really like. I like the fact that he's got some similarities to older but also newer at the same time, and I think the actor is fantastic. He really pulls it off.
Oh yeah, no, he's great. I wish they would. I wish they would maybe have done a couple things differently with him. But then again, there's a lot. That's a lot of this episode. Things just.
I really stop being so shouty and childish. I don't know. I can't take it that seriously.
I really like I really like the scene when the Doctor's about to push the button and he's like saying to her, like, look where I've brought you to this level.
Yeah, again, really good moment there when he's like egging her on to do it. Would have been a really great moment if there was a proper payoff to it. As you can tell, I take real issue with this scene because this is like the 5th time I brought it up. How much I dislike it. Oh god.
Anyway, final thoughts now, as we've went on for quite a while. and I'm just utterly exhausted talking about this episode. Do you want to start then, Joey?
Okay, so, what a ride. Jodie as a performer, I have enjoyed her this entire series. She could have been really good if the script was stronger. Overall, the plot points of this episode offer absolutely nothing to the lore of Doctor Who, like I said it was going to, and actually just do more damage than any good. But while at the same time accomplishing nothing. Companions accomplish nothing. They're given these pseudo-exits that actually mean nothing as well, because the Doctor just said she's going to go pick them up later in the end. Kosharmus, just, what even was the point of him? What was the point of the Cybermen? What was the point of killing off the lone Cyberman halfway through this episode? Not even halfway through this episode. It was like a third into it. Sasha was great. I still enjoyed him. Joe Martin, I wish we could have gotten that same Doctor we saw in Fugitive, but again, it was like the Matrix's representation of her, and she says some very un-Joe Martin Doctor-like lines, if that makes any sense. And so that bothered me. A lot of this episode bothers me. I really didn't like it in the end. Overall, as a story with Ascension of the Cybermen, Ascension somewhat brings this up for me, and as such, it's not the worst of Series 12. That's still Orphan 55 and maybe Praxeus. But I don't know. It just left me feeling just kind of empty, mostly, because it does nothing for the most part. Rating out of 10, 2 or 3.
Jacob.
I'm not giving it a rating out of 10. I can't. It's just... I said in my initial reaction maybe a 5. If I had to give it, maybe probably lower than a 5. I don't know how much lower. Because it's not telling a story. It's throwing out ideas and thinking, okay, here's some ideas, here's some plot points, but there isn't any connective tissue. There's barely even a complete skeleton of a story structure here. It feels like you have something that could be brilliant and could really shake things up, but it's too scared to actually do it. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, perfectly. He's trying too hard to straddle a middle ground, and as such does nothing.
Guys, everybody knows me as the Looms fan, as the one obsessed with Looms. Even if they decanonize Looms, I'm fine with it. Change the status quo. Don't do something different. Yeah, we'll survive.
Comment.
Okay. I've seen a lot of very different reactions to this episode. I've seen a lot of hate. I've seen a lot of praise. I think most of it...
Remember, there was a lot of praise when Hellbent came out.
Yeah, I was in the minority there.
Look, let's just not talk about Hellbent. From what I've seen of it, I think a lot of it is fair on both sides. I can see reasons for it. I can see reasons against it. I also think part of it is to do with a lot of it is sort of incomplete. Because the way I feel about this episode is that there's a lot of stuff that I really like and I'm really interested in that's sort of splattered together and it doesn't quite work as a cohesive unit. And that really does hold it down quite a bit, because you can't really formulate one big sort of narrative structure out of it, and you can't really form an overall sort of feeling on it, because it doesn't really conclude. It doesn't really satisfy what it's trying to do. But for me, there was enough interest and positive for me to not hate it or dislike it. I just think that, I don't know. I feel like maybe I've been so burned by stuff previously, especially by Stephen Moffat, that I don't really get affected by this sort of thing that much anymore. So yeah, I would say that I'm kind of just sort of indifferent on this one. I don't really care about it, but there was stuff I liked and there was stuff I disliked. So yeah, that's all.
So people might say that I'm being quite harsh on this story, but I think you've got to bear in mind everything built up to this. The whole of Series 12 are just oh well, fuck all of this bollocks. Wait until the finale. That's when shit really gets real. They've been really hyping this up. They've been saying it's going to be this big change. And as a story, it has absolutely no writing quality. It has two ideas, both with some potential to be really interesting, and they do nothing with it. So as such, all the story is just exposition, contrivance to get the next bit of the plot. Exposition, contrivance to get the next bit of the plot. There's no flow. The characters aren't done well. The ideas aren't explored at all, which makes it feel pointless even bringing them up. And it just does nothing to have... Like, it says it's supposed to have an impact that's going to change the show forever, but the script itself is saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter. So what was the point? It does nothing with these ideas. It just felt like a complete waste of time. So many of the plot points were contrived, as I said, about, like, just being able to break out the Matrix just because she fought of her life, being able to infiltrate the cyber ship for no reason, having the Cyberium come up with, like, a death particle just out of absolutely nowhere, and then, having that just to end this threat. Another thing which is meant to be game-changing, the Cyberman Time Lord Army, that was meant to be another thing that was game-changing. They were meant to be invincible, yet they go as quickly as they come. I don't know, I can understand if you find that ideas interesting, but I just don't understand how you can then go on to say, well, that's a positive, when they do absolutely nothing with it, and it's written just this abysmally. It feels like worse than the first draft, if I'm perfectly honest. As Jacob said, there's barely even a skeleton of a story here. All it is just ideas being thrown at the wall with absolutely no development.
Idea for, like, a novel-length story, because then, like, surprise, right, we've got to get this novel outline down to an outline for a 65-minute television episode.
Yeah.
So they were like, chop.
And also Chris Chibnall could say, but I fixed the brain of Bobby. Like, that's what hurts the most. Because Series 12 was entirely built around this.
And it does nothing.
Remember all those interviews when Jodie Whittaker was saying, oh, Chris has this grand idea for Doctor Who. He's had this idea since he was a kid. She literally means when he was a kid, and he was watching The Brain of Morbius.
How has he been thinking about this since he was a kid, considering there is no substance to it whatsoever? Surely you would have thought of more things to do with it by now. You've been thinking of it for that long.
For 44 fucking years, and this is what he comes up with.
If that's true, that is a testament to a complete lack of creativity.
Well,
I'm sure it's a hyperbole anyway.
Jodie Whittaker was saying. Yeah.
I mean, part of it is also just because you can critique a bad story, like, say, I don't know, let's pick a story randomly, Terror of the Vervoids. For no reason. Doesn't mean you can write a good story. Like,
I will hang on. I will give The Timeless Child one thing and one thing only for Chris Chibnall as a writer. It's certainly not routine Doctor Who.
But on the same coin, even though I dislike Terror of the Vervoids, I'd say that was a superior story, as at least it has a plot that it does something with. It may be run-of-the-mill, but at least it's run-of-the-mill in the sense that it has a story.
And guess what? Vervoids asks questions that it fully intended to return to, if it weren't for the whole Sayward J&T bitch fight.
Oh, well, I think I'm going to end this here because this panel discussion is monster length. Thanks for coming on, Connor, Jacob, and Joey. I'm looking forward to the extremely negative reaction to this video.
We'll defend you in the I will be watching the comments, because this will be hilarious.